May I take my face mask off?
Yes.
Corbishley, Corbishley.
Mr. Corbishley, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Sir, where are you from?
Charleston, South Carolina, since I was about 8 years old.
All right. And did you go to high school in that area?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Where did you go to college?
I went to the University of South Carolina.
All right. What years were you at the University of South Carolina?
I started in 2014, graduated December of, 2014, excuse me, graduated December of 2018.
All right. Can you tell this jury how you came to meet Samantha Josephson?
We met in the 5 Points area out at one of the bars. Struck a conversation. That's how I got to meet her.
All right. And where was Samantha from?
Robbinsville, New Jersey.
Do you know how she ended up here in Columbia?
She also went to the University of South Carolina.
Okay. Can you describe your relationship with her over the first couple of years of knowing her and her time in college?
For a little bit, we would, I guess, the way I would describe it is we were talking, we were more than friends, but we weren't quite to the stage of boyfriend and girlfriend. That happened for about a year, and then we decided to make it official and become boyfriend and girlfriend in the spring of 2017, I believe.
Okay. And as you were getting to know each other during those first couple of years and even beyond, what kinds of things did you do together?
We did everything together. I would say we kept in contact more than the average couple. You know, even when we were living 5 minutes apart, FaceTiming each other, checking in, go get food. We'd go to the 5 Points area together. We'd go to football games. We did pretty much everything together.
Right. And you said at some point things got a bit more serious between you. Is that right?
Yeah, spring of 2017, right before the summer.
And ultimately, you guys were actually in a relationship.
Yes, sir.
Cared for each other a great deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
Loved one another.
Yeah.
And what were you studying at Carolina?
I was studying marketing in the business school with a minor in sports management.
How about Samantha?
Samantha was poli-sci with aspirations of going to law school.
Okay. And you said you graduated when?
December of 2018.
When was Samantha expected to graduate?
Spring of that 2019.
Okay.
Or May.
And you said that as far as after school, after graduation, each of you had plans. What were those plans?
So she had just gotten accepted into Drexel Law School on a full scholarship. I was still on the job search, but our plan was that she would go to Drexel, and due to the obviously difficult nature of law school, I wanted to make it a little easier, so my plan was to move up to Philadelphia and look for a job up there and not live together per se at that point, but be close enough to where it wasn't going to be tough on either of us.
All right. I'm just going to
Going too close?
That's all right.
There we go.
Drexel's in the Philadelphia area, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. All right, let's turn your attention to March of 2019, specifically Thursday, March 28th of 2019. Where were you that day and what were you doing?
I was in Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. I started the day off going to my brother's house, looking after his dog because he was at work. And then I was watching the March Madness games at night around 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Yeah, I just moved it just slightly. It was getting a little feedback.
Sorry.
There you go. So you said you were in Charleston and the NCAA tournament was going on?
Right, I was watching the game that started around 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Okay. Where was Samantha?
Samantha was in Columbia, South Carolina at her apartment.
Were you in contact with her that night?
I was in contact with her throughout the entire day.
Okay. What form of contact did you all have with each other?
FaceTime, text messages, calls, basically asking me to come up to Columbia that night to visit her.
Okay. And do you know generally what her plans were that night and who they were with?
Just her roommates and her friends, her extended friend group that didn't live with her. They were going to go out to the 5 Points area like any regular night at South Carolina.
And who is Tegan Berry?
Tegan Berry is one of her roommates and one of her very good friends.
Okay. And was she with her that night?
Yes.
All right. Could you tell and so you talked to Samantha by these different various platforms throughout the night, you said?
Yes, sir.
While she was still at home?
While she was still at the hub where she lives, yeah.
The hub. Okay. Where is the hub?
My memory serves me correctly from when I lived there, 1426 Main Street.
Okay. Could you tell when you were discussing with her, or when you were talking to her that night, whether she'd been drinking at all?
Yeah, I think, they had plans to go to the 5 Points area. They had a couple drinks. I'm not sure how many.
Okay. Was that unusual for her, or you, or her friends?
No.
Now, without going into specifics, did she confide in you that night about some concerns that she had about her family at all?
Yes.
Some medical issues with a family member or something like that?
Yes.
Okay, so as a result of that, what did you tell her?
I told her to get her mind off of it, to go out with her friends, that she had just worked so hard, got into law school. She deserved to have a night to celebrate that and have fun with her friends. And I just told her to go out and have fun that night.
Okay. At the end of that conversation, what'd you do?
I believe I went to the gym right after that. The NCAA game had just ended, and I think it was around 9:30, 10. I headed over to my neighborhood gym.
All right. Did you talk to Samantha again?
I did a couple times while I was at the gym, while she was trying to convince me to come up to Columbia still.
Was that unusual for her to try to do that?
Absolutely not.
And did you go?
Most of the time, or pretty much every single time, yes. I had done that 2-hour drive quite a bit.
On this particular night, did you make the ride up to Columbia?
I did not.
How come?
Because she was supposed to be visiting 2 days later on Saturday. I always went to Columbia. I never had her come to Charleston, so we planned that trip, and she was supposed to come down, so I figured I'd see her in 2 days, just wait till then.
While you were at the gym, were you having contact with her throughout?
Yes.
Do you remember how?
I think I got a couple FaceTimes, a couple text messages, just the same thing, saying I really want you to come up to Columbia. I really need you to be with me tonight. I guess she was still thinking about the stuff that she had confided in me about, and just wanted me to be around to make her feel a little bit better.
So what time did you get home from the gym?
11:30
Okay.
p.m.
And when did you next have contact with Samantha?
As soon as I got home, once again, kind of more of the same stuff. I believe at that point they were leaving the hub to go to their friend Edgar's house, which is about 2 minutes outside of the 5 Points area.
And so based on your conversations with her and your texts, what time did she get to the 5 Points area that night?
I would say about 12:15, 12:30.
Okay. And where did she go? Do you know what establishment?
She went to Bird Dog, which is, yeah.
Is that a place you had been before?
I'm sorry?
Is that a place you had been before?
Yeah, numerous times.
And she had been there numerous times?
Yeah, it was a regular place that we went to.
All right, so as the night progressed between approximately 12:30 and say 2 a.m., what was the nature of your contact with her during that period?
It was mostly just telling me just kind of out there things just about the bar, if she saw anyone that I knew, just casual conversation, and then mixed in with, I really want you to still come up to Columbia and drive up.
At some point late in the evening, did you actually speak to her via telephone call?
I did around 2:04, well, a little bit in that 12:30 to 1 o'clock a couple times, and then the last time was around 2:04 a.m.
Okay. When you spoke to her on the phone, what was she doing?
At what point?
I'm sorry, thank you. The approximate 2:04 a.m. call, what was she doing?
At that point, she was leaving the bar. She told me she had called an Uber, and she was waiting on that to go back home to the hub.
Was that unusual for her or any of you in the group to take an Uber like that?
No, Ubers are pretty frequent. there's not really another avenue of transportation, and the hub is so far away that no one wants to make that walk.
So what happened next?
We got off the phone. Me and her had our locations shared with each other through the Find My Friends app. And I tracked it just to make sure she got home safe, as I always did.
And I'm sorry, I kind of stopped you there. Can you describe what that Find My Friend app is and how that works?
Right, so it'll pinpoint where whoever it is that shares their location, where they are, and it'll give you a constant update by the second about where their location is. And like I said, it's pretty frequently updated. So if you're in a car, it'll track it, as you're moving.
Okay. And so why were you looking at where she was going?
I just want to make sure she got home safely.
Okay. So, got a map here of Columbia. And if you could describe what you've been talking about in terms of the bird dog in that area and the hub, what you see. Can you see it?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't think I understand the question.
Just the relationship between the hub and the bird dog.
I'm in there pretty far, as you can see.
All right. And so when you began tracking her phone as she departs the bird dog, which direction was it headed?
Where that yellow pin is with the bird dog, it went south of that.
Okay, so this way?
Yeah, the complete opposite direction of where you would go if you were going towards the hub.
Okay. And when you saw that she was going in a different direction, what did you do?
I called her, first texted her. At first I really didn't think anything of it. I thought maybe they're going back to Edgar's or someone's house after. But there was no response and no answer to the call.
And this might sound like a stupid question, but how did you know that that was the wrong direction, headed this way, as opposed to going to the hub?
Because I lived there and I had taken that Uber route very many times.
You had previously lived at the hub yourself.
Yeah.
So you said you tried to reach her directly.
Tried to reach her by phone. Didn't. It rang, went straight, then went to voicemail. Tried texting. Both of us had read receipts on. It just said delivered, and I never got the read receipt back.
And that would indicate to you what, for those of us that are not as technologically inclined, what does that mean?
That she hadn't read the message, or that she wasn't around her phone, or for whatever reason she hadn't looked at the message personally. That would be what I would think.
And so you continued to follow her whereabouts.
Right.
Find my friend.
Right, and then I think I tried contacting her by Snapchat as well, and no answer there. I believe her location stopped. It stopped getting shared with me, which had never happened before in our relationship.
About what time?
About 2:30, 2:40 a.m.
Okay, and the general area in which that happened?
That was the Montgomery Avenue. Was the last place that I saw it tracked to.
so can you describe what we're looking at here on the map?
Yeah, I mean, that's Montgomery Avenue, that's Bird Dog right in the middle, and as you can see, the hub they're on opposite sides of each other.
And you said that this area,
Was the last area that the Find My Friends app showed her location at.
what did you think was happening at this point?
And I really didn't know what to think. I thought maybe she left her phone in an Uber and the Uber went home. I called her roommates to ask, do you know if she's home? Are you guys home? I didn't really know what to think at this point. I just kept trying to call her just to see if she would answer.
And did you actually end up speaking to her roommates at all?
Yeah, I think I had some texts with them around 3 or 3:30. I don't really remember the time, but I had told them that the situation, and I think they came to the same conclusion or assumption that I did, that maybe she dropped her phone or something like that. But
And so to your knowledge, did her friends actually go looking for her that night?
I'm not sure.
Okay.
I think they did. I believe they did.
But you didn't find out that they had made contact with her in any way?
No, I think I went to sleep around 5 a.m.
5 a.m.?
Yeah,
And so that would have been, we were talking about Thursday night, but this is really
Friday morning.
morning.
Yes,
right?
sir.
Okay, and that's March 29th.
Yes, sir.
2019, correct? Did you get any sleep that night?
I tried to get my mind off of it, and I did go to sleep probably around 5:30 a.m.
Tell us what you did. I'm not going to say the next morning, but a few hours later after you slept for a little bit.
I woke up, I think, around 11 a.m. To calls from her roommate, Carly, saying that Samantha had never returned home.
Can't say what they told you.
Oh,
but
excuse me.
That's all right.
I apologize.
But you can say her roommate called you.
Roommate called me.
Right. So based on that, what did you do?
I drove up to Columbia.
You still hadn't heard from her at any point? From
No,
Samantha?
I hadn't heard anything.
No responses to any of your messages of any kind?
No, nothing. No read receipts, no nothing.
So when you got to Columbia, what did you do?
There was a police officer there.
Where?
At the hub already, and then I went down and I gave them the information from the previous night that I just gave to you.
When you say there's a police officer at the hub, had that officer, to your knowledge, already been there speaking with the roommates?
Yes.
Okay. And you just happened to see the officer when you got there?
No,
as well,
I went up to the room, and then the officer asked if she could interview me down by her police car on Main Street.
Okay. So you spoke to the officer, told him what you knew, and after that, what did you do in Columbia?
After that, we went to the Montgomery Avenue point. We started knocking on doors, asking if anyone had seen anything suspicious, heard anything. We looked around. We looked like on the grass and for her phone, any trace of that she had been there. We didn't find anything, and neither had the neighbors heard anything.
What came after that?
After that, we went to the 5 Points area to see if we could ask some of the managers to look at their surveillance footage to see if she had gotten in a car, to see which way she went, anything to, kind of give us a little inkling of where she might be. We went to Breakers first because it has a pretty big view of the main street of 5 Points. They didn't have anything. So then we went to Bird Dog, and that's when we saw the footage of her getting into the black Chevy Impala.
You actually saw that yourself?
Yeah,
Did you recognize the vehicle at all?
I did not.
What was next?
Next, I believe I went.
Well, let me ask you this. Did Samantha work back then?
She did.
Where did she work?
She worked at Liberty in the Vista.
Liberty, is that Liberty Tap Room?
Liberty Tap Room in the Vista.
What was her job there?
Waitress.
Was that just on the side while she was going to school?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Did you try to contact them at all?
I did, and apparently she had a shift at about 11 a.m. that morning that she had never shown up for.
Friday morning.
Friday morning, yes, sir.
They hadn't seen or heard from her.
Hadn't seen or heard from her, and that was very uncharacteristic of her.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead with what you're saying.
After that, after we found out that there was a black Chevy Impala, we started searching for any black Chevy Impala we could see in the 5 Points area. We came across one, we alerted officers to it. We looked at it, and there was nothing in there. We looked in the window, there was nothing. Then I got a call, I met up with another one of my friends, and we went back to the Montgomery area where her phone was last tracked. We just kept knocking on doors, looking for any inkling, because it was really the only thing we had to go off of, and also further looking for a black Chevy Impala, possibly in that area parked in her driveway.
Did you see any Impalas in that area?
I did not.
Did you speak to some of the residents in those areas?
One or two families.
Okay. Nothing came from that?
Nothing.
All right. And so by the time you're doing this, approximately what time of day is this on Friday that you rode over there?
That I went back to Montgomery?
Yeah.
I'd say about 10 p.m., 10:30 p.m.
All right. Was
Maybe
that
a little bit earlier, maybe 9:30,
Okay.
around that time span.
Was that it for the night, or what did you do after that?
After that, her parents had driven down, and I was in contact with them to meet them at the police station. The investigator told me to come to the police station as well.
Did some of her roommates go there as well?
They did later in the night, yes.
Okay. And,
I think I was the first one there.
And when you got to the police station, did you meet with investigators?
I did. They took me into a room and asked me further questions.
And essentially, did they have you kind of lay out what you've laid out for this jury here today?
Yes.
Okay. At the time of that interview, that was late Friday night, is that right? Or are we now into Saturday morning now?
Yeah, I guess technically Saturday morning.
It's after midnight?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So at that time, we're about 24 hours removed from her being gone, correct?
Right.
Okay. When you were being interviewed by the Columbia Police Department at that time, had you been given any information about where she was?
No.
What happened after you completed your interview with them?
They took me back down to, I guess, what the waiting room is, or the main entrance room. I was surprised to see her roommates there. I was unaware that they were there. We waited for about 10, 15 minutes, and then they led us into what I would call a conference room, and there were Mr. and Mrs. Josephson sitting there, looking distraught. First thing that went through my head was, I hope their look is just because they haven't found her yet. As you said, or as I confirmed, they hadn't told me what had actually happened yet. They broke the news to us right there. And just after that, I just broke down, felt my legs collapse from under me, and, just kind of you almost black out, with disbelief.
When you spoke to her on the phone, when you spoke to Sammy on the phone at approximately 2:04 a.m., was that the last time you saw or spoke to her?
Yes.
All right. Thank you.